Ministry of Mushrooms basically as a business, right? So when I came back, I wanted to really actually do a business. This was during the time of the global crisis, right? So I wanted to do a business that was very grounded, and it led me back into agriculture, where my family was actually also doing not into mushrooms but other commodities. And I needed a high yield crop. I liked mushrooms, but when I started reading about it, I fell in love. And now, I mean, my vision and my advocacy for mushrooms goes beyond just food. It could be actually for other products, like industrial products. It can be for medicinal use as well.
Perfect Mushrooms is collating or collecting mushrooms among farmers. Basically, one farmer is unable to farm different varieties of mushrooms. So I come up with an idea of collecting their mushrooms and bringing it directly to the household, to keeping it fresh and supreme quality. So that actually restaurants and households needed to have their mushrooms fresh directly from farm to table approach. There's a lot of benefits of eating mushrooms. Basically, mushrooms per se have high amino acid content, and those are antioxidants and anti-cancer. So,
Well, yeah, it's low in carbs. Its majority is like a lot, like you said, amino acids. So there's a good amount of protein in the mushrooms as well. And different mushrooms have different compounds that have health benefits. So, for example, like one of the most common mushrooms that you find in the supermarket, it has a lot of, they say, anti-cancer, or they call them like immune system boosting. Which are like shiitake. Shiitake mushroom has a lot of benefits as well. There's some that, for example, up north, they say they boil some of them, and it's to take out gout. Different uses. It's like saying, what are the health benefits of plants? It's that wide, because basically mushrooms are its own kingdom in the ecosystem. So the compounds that it creates are as diverse and actually not yet as discovered as plants. But you can see the power of plants. How many things we can do with that. You can imagine the many things you can do with mushrooms. Mushrooms, without the study of mushrooms, we would not have yeast. And yeast is used for bread, yeast is used for beer. No beer. No mushroom, no beer. Very important, right? So then there's also penicillin, which is also like a fungus. So I mean, it's cured and healed a lot of people. There are lots and lots of medicinal properties into mushrooms. And then, apart from eating it, there are also what they call bioremediation uses, meaning you remediate, or you take care, or bring back, to a healthy condition naturally. So what you do is you use this technology. Basically, you can have a lot of mushrooms growing. You put them in the soil. They grow around, let's say, contaminated soil. They break it down and help the soil recover faster. Okay. Well, I mean, me, for example, I think that the value, I work on really as a farming advocate as well. We have a program that's run by actually Pilmico, which is an Aboitiz company. They work with a lot of farmers, but it's a movement based on loving local food. But at the base of it, one of the identified challenges why they got into it was they've seen that a lot of farmers that they have are dwindling down in numbers, mainly because their children, the future generations, are not going back into farming, because there are other options. As the world becomes a bit more globalized and the Philippines opens up, there are more opportunities also for what is perceived as higher paying jobs. Like, a lot of people go to school and they think, I went to school and it's not to become a farmer, which is a very, very big disconnect, because what they look at in terms of other countries, farmers are seen as, the ones that feed them, the ones that make a lot of money. There's big money in farming, lots of it. You just need to know how to use it. But the perception that I guess our culture has shown to us is that farmer is you know, nagbubukid. So it's not, it doesn't seem like a prestigious thing, but actually that is one of the most prestigious things you can do, is go back and do it. And it's exciting because so many things are coming out now. And at least the local food scene in the Philippines, just understand that it's growing higher. The restaurant scene, for example, is growing higher than the GDP, and the appetite for that kind of food is growing. We're not looking anymore for one kind of food, we're looking for many different things. So whereas before, when I started, not too many people were using mushrooms, today lots and lots of people are now putting it into their diets. So that that could actually be the case for heirloom vegetables as well. There are many different things that you don't think are grown traditionally, but they're some of the best things that you can actually grow locally, and people should go back into farming. So if we could actually just get more people to farm, from mushrooms to other vegetables, that would be great. So the process of making mushrooms is really about replicating the mushroom's life cycle. Okay, so to understand it, they start with spores, and spores they come in billions and trillions. And in fact, we breathe about 10,000 spores in a day. We just don't know that, but we do supposedly on average. But our lungs are able to let it go and clean that out, together with other pollutants that could probably kill us. But basically, from these 2 spores, which could live like hundreds of years and stay during the right time, that's why they make lots of it, so that the chances are higher. But during the right time, in the right conditions, 2 will meet and they start to form a fiber. It's a very thin 2-celled fiber, and that's called mycelium. That grows basically on anything, right? What it does is it surrounds itself through the cell walls of its food, and it breaks it down, gets the sugars, and it just keeps growing. When it needs to fruit, that's the mushroom itself. From that, you'll find little tiny parts. This is for example, all the white things you see. It's brown and white, right? So pretty much the white is the mycelium that's already grown. And from that, you'll come these little pinheads, and eventually the mushrooms start growing. So out, this becomes bigger. And what the point of this mushroom is that under this, they create more spores and they spread it. That's the point of the mushroom. This is the fruiting body. So like a fruit, that's where the seed is. That's why we call it the fruiting body, although it doesn't act exactly like a plant. It's completely different. So what you do in growing mushrooms is basically following the cycle. So you could work from spores, but that's a bit more technical because it's really small. What you can do is, because that genetic matter, that fiber that grows, can be replicated or cultured, right? So you get a piece of it and put it into sterile food. So that's what we showed earlier, which is like the agar. You let it grow in that matter and then just propagate it basically. So from there, put it into another sterilized medium, which is probably grains, which we use like red sorghum in the Philippines. Once that's eaten, you mix it up and put it into what we do in a lot of places here is bags. So they put basically bags that they can also sterilize again. Inside they put our organic waste that's been composted, or sawdust, for example. Another example of organic waste. You could use, like in the Philippines, rice straw, banana leaves, corn waste. You can use bagas. Those are typical. You can also use coconut waste. So imagine all of these farmers that grow our natural crop. If they knew how to grow mushrooms, they can use their own waste, grow mushrooms, and at least have it as a food source. Just better than buying, junk food.
To the younger generation, I encourage you to engage and to get involved in terms of agriculture. It doesn't necessarily mean that you do have a land to become an entrepreneur. All you need to do is to have a creative mind and do a product development for agricultural products. And it would really help you jumpstart your business. And maybe you can find someone like him, like Marco, that would believe with your passion, to your passion, and help jumpstart your business.
There's a lot of, I would say that there's really a lot of opportunities in agriculture. If we look at mushrooms alone and growing it, it's really and we look at the neighboring countries, we import a lot of the mushrooms actually from Taiwan, from Malaysia, from places that have similar weather as us. So the question is, why can't we seem to do it? That's because there's really just not enough people and minds that are putting themselves into it. If more business-minded people, for example, went into farming and took what they taught and brought it into farming, this industry, we've always been taught that the Philippines was always born with great natural resources. But what it seems to be lacking is the natural resources of the human mind, basically putting itself back into agriculture so that we can grow this industry. So we hope that a lot of people really consider trying to grow something that they eat.